Figured we'd wrap up a story from about, what's it been, about 10 months ago? Like, this was early 2021, where this whole, idea of feds infiltrating a 2020 attempt on Gretchen Whitmer to try to kidnap her, some dumb shit like that. I called bullshit when it first happened, caught 7 shades of shit for it, but guess who's laughing now? I just want to give everybody a little bit of a refresh on this one, okay? So the men accused in the plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer claims the FBI set them up. Just as a little bit of a refresher course, everybody kind of already knows what the fuck is going on. The men accused of plotting to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer last September claims that they were set up by the FBI. That doesn't happen because of their conservative political views. There are at least 12 FBI informants involved in the investigation to thwart the alleged scheme by the militia group known as the Wolverine Watchmen. But the agents actually took part in the active planning from its inception, according to court filings, evidence, and dozens of interviews reviewed by BuzzFeed News. Yeah, if you'd like a little bit more on the topic, I did, a lot of videos earlier. All you have to do is just, search within the channel for Gretchen Whitmer videos, and I know I did at least a couple of them, even diving into that BuzzFeed article, which is very interesting. It's just, this was one of the first big cases that came along that really just opened my eyes to the whole glowy issue. Okay, if you don't know what that means, that's just a Fed-involved operation as kind of a sting, kind of a setup, more or less. Just nothing was going to happen, okay? This plot specifically, nothing was going to happen unless the feds didn't intervene. One informant from Wisconsin allegedly helped organize meetings where the first inklings of the plot surfaced, even paying for hotel rooms and food to incite people to attend. So they even just held an open casting call in order to try to get people to come. Hey, do you want to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer? No, that'd be fine. Please, we're going to give you a free lunch. Just goes to show you that no such thing as a free lunch. Another undercover agent allegedly advised the group on how to blow up a bridge to aid their getaway. Oh my god, who was fucking assisting on these fucking stunts or who was consulting on this fucking setup? Jussie Smollett. Oh, we're gonna blow up a bridge. We're gonna kidnap the governor, put her in a big fucking burlap sack. And then in order to get away so nobody hears us, we're all just gonna escape on our tippy toes. Fucking Christ. And promised to supply them with explosives. An FBI informant, another one who was an Iraq war veteran, eventually rose to become second in command of the group, the report said. It's interesting because also, just as we're running this down again, this just kind of is exactly like the video that we did. I think it came out last Sunday. It was about that guy who did like a decade undercover with the Klan. He was a former member of the armed services. I forget exactly which branch, but yeah, he ended up being a fucking glowy as well. And he only went back into the Klan, but he first thought that it was his duty to try to undercover shit. It was a very interesting read, and I really liked doing it. I don't really know what kind of traction it got or anything like that, but if you want more on that situation as well, and if you'd like to know more, like I said, about the Whitmer thing, just type in Klan, or I'm pretty sure it was last Sunday anyways, but yeah. According to BuzzFeed News, lawyers for the men allege that the informants and undercover agents gained the confidence of the defendants, stirred their anger at Whitmer, and encouraged them to conspire in the plot, even going as far as steering the conversation away from other subjects on how to carry out the kidnapping. The Iraq vet, who said, even taught them military tactics to use on the operation. Yeah, I can't really speak specifically for everybody who's on there, but I remember this guy, okay? There was a screenshot of him being captured online where he was sitting in front of like an Antifa flag or something, and he had other posts that were up there that were just fuck the government in general. He was just kind of an anarchist. He wasn't really planning anything. He wasn't really intending on doing anything. He just got wrapped up in this because feds just kept inundating him with just little poking and proddings. While they acknowledged attending training sessions with combat-style rifles, big scary black rifles, and communicating with each other about the frustrations with Whitmer. They said there was no conspiracy to do harm to the governor. This is the defendants in this situation, not the glowies themselves. Yeah, and again, there's nothing wrong with this, okay? You're out, you're shooting, okay? You're just talking with guys. You can talk about how the government is pissing you off. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, okay? The men allege the government set out to sabotage your militia movement. Okay, militia is a very, very generous description of this. That is based on the sanctity of the Second Amendment and the belief that the government is violating the Constitution is no longer legitimate. Okay, so these guys have some points. They just, kind of maybe need to work on upkeep of different trucks that are there. And of course, whenever they have a militia, they always tend to find some asshole with a Confederate flag. But again, okay, this is the description of it, which is very interesting, very telling as well. The Confederate flag hangs from the port to the property in Munith, Michigan, Friday, October 9th, 2020, where law enforcement officials said suspects accused in the plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer met to train and make their plans. But who spurred on those plans? Who stirred everybody up in order to foment any of this supposed rage that was out there? I'm just going to go and say, based on how delinquent the rest of the place looks and how bright and shiny and crisp and clean that flag is, I'd imagine probably somebody from Quantico probably came by with a little package and a little steamer. Just saying. Yeah, so there's a dozen of these guys that are up on trial, and the trial is still going on, but we actually have a little bit of a development here. So the defendants are moved to have the case just dismissed, have the charges tossed out, mostly because they're getting to a point where the feds are just starting to admit that, yeah, this was basically, we just tried to agitate something. We were just that meme. It was like, come on, do something. Do the kidnapping. And nobody was taking the bait. 5 defendants accused of the plotting to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer have filed a motion to dismiss the charges against them, claiming that the hand that FBI informants had in directing the failed scheme amounts to entrapment. No shit. The trial of Adam Fox, Barry Croft, Caleb Franks, Daniel Harris, and Brandon Caserta is set to begin on March 8th, a day before my birthday, 2022, for allegedly conspiring throughout 2020 to kidnap Whitmer. The 6th-person, Ty Garbin, pleaded guilty to the allegations in August and was sentenced to 6 years in prison while agreeing to serve as a witness against his co-defendants. This dude should have just fucking held on a little bit. Fox, Croft, Franks, Harris, and Caserta have maintained throughout the proceedings that the government set them up. They formalized those arguments in the December 25th motion to dismiss, saying the evidence in the case demonstrates egregious overreaching and by the government's agents and by the informants those agents handled or hand-led. When the government was faced with evidence showing that the defendants had no interest in the kidnapping plot, it refused to accept failure and continued to push its plans. The motion states the BuzzFeed News investigation from July, that's what we recounted through the New York Post, found that the FBI used at least 12 informants. Okay, so there were 12 feds, fed informants, but they work for the feds. Okay, they were stirring all this stuff up, and all they could do is charge 6 people. So there were 18 people involved in this, and 12 were on the fucking government dime. Interesting, okay? And what did it ended up amassing to? Well, there was a news conference where Gretchen Whitmer got to come out and give the old fucking Emperor Palpatine speech. There was an attempt on my life. I was horribly scarred. Look at how much makeup I need to put on so you don't see my wrinkly face. Anyways, because the government overreached and committed serious acts of misconduct against defendants who have repudiated the government's suggested wrongdoing, the defense can establish entrapment as a matter of law, the motion states. The defendant's 20-page motion offers numerous examples of their supported claims. For instance, multiple defendants and others were allegedly together on July 7th, 2020, where someone suggested kidnapping Whitmer. Somebody did. Who was it exactly? Don't know. By just the numbers alone, it was probably a Fed. According to the motion, someone in the group immediately said, "We're not cool with offensive kidnapping," a sentiment echoed by Franks and Harris. On July 18th, 2020, Garbin purportedly rebuffed an FBI informant's suggestion that kidnapping a public official Garbin said, so I think an objective to go for is not the kidnapping, the motion states. 3 weeks later, on August 9th, defendant Daniel Harris told the lead FBI informants and others, no snatch and grab, I swear to fucking God. One FBI informant allegedly used his untreated hernia as a device to gain sympathy from Fox and others. He claimed that the VA would provide him proper treatment after the years of combat service and would tell Adam Fox that he was waiting to die. He had a fucking hernia, for Christ's sakes. Oh my God, I think I'm dying. It's discomforting, but you can work around it, for fuck's sakes. Feeling the emotional pull of such a confession, Adam Fox told Dan that Dan needed to get surgical treatment as a priority over the mission plans. You know what? Okay, just as a little bit of an aside, getting a surgery for a hernia is super tough, okay? Either doctors will do it immediately and it eventually just gets to a point where it needs to happen right now. Otherwise, you find yourself in a serious medical emergency. Or they just tell you that it's not that bad, and I don't know, once it eventually gets to that point, then we'll operate on it. Getting surgery on a hernia is a motherfucker. So these entrapments and others are more than enough to meet the entrapment threshold. The defendants argued their motion includes examples where other cases were dismissed. In Jacobson v. U.S., for example, the United States Supreme Court overturned a conviction against a man who was repeatedly solicited by government agents about child pornography in the mail over a period of 26 months. Oh my God. Could you imagine that? Just every once in a while you get a fucking note with a Quantico letterhead that just says, hey, you got any kitty pics? No, stop it. Stop it. Till you eventually just, cut out the side of a fucking Huggies box and you send it in there like, we got him, boys. In that case, the Supreme Court said government agents may not originate a criminal design, implant an innocent person's mind and the disposition to commit a criminal act, and then induce a commission of the crime so that the government may prosecute. Well, doesn't that sure seem to fit the bill when it comes to this one? 8 guys who were just, not 8 guys, so don't want to give them too much credit. 6 guys that were just more or less, just shooting guns, bitching about the government. It tends to happen a lot, especially in 2020, because if you remember what was going on, I know it was just about 2 fucking years ago at this point. Michigan was one of the hardest locked down states in the entire fucking union, where Whitmer wouldn't even let people go outside. You still could, because you're a sovereign individual after all. Just because there's so much snow on the ground, you can't even go outside and garden anyway, so what's the point? Meanwhile, her husband was out on one of the lakes with a yacht anyway. So funny how people people in public office can afford to do that. It's just very interesting now, isn't it? But I don't know. We haven't heard any developments on this yet. I really hope it gets thrown out, because this just seems like a fucking government op, and I can smell it from a mile away. So best luck to those guys, and yeah, fuck Gretchen Whitmer. With that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.